My world was built on a foundation of quiet routines. For 8 years, my life as a pharmacist unfolded with predictable comfort, the crisp weight of my white coat, the meticulous checking of prescriptions, the steady rhythm of reassuring patients. It was a life of order, and I cherished it. Michael was the brilliant exception to my rule-bound existence. I met him 5 years ago, an architect with a captivating mind and a smile that could disarm a room. When he held my hand, I felt a warmth that, even now, hasn't faded. We were partners, building a life together. Children were a conversation for someday, a dream we kept safely on the horizon. Lately, however, that dream had begun to press in on me. Every time I passed the newborn nursery, a deep, aching longing would stir, a silent question I hadn't yet found the courage to voice. My family, the Parkers, were the very picture of success. My father, Edward, a retired pharmaceutical executive, carried himself with an authority that commanded rooms. My mother, Carol, was the epitome of grace, her life a curated collection of volunteer work and literary circles. And then there was Amy. Amy, my younger sister, was the family's supernova, vibrant, chaotic, and impossibly magnetic. Where I was careful and studious, she was rebellious and bold, and where my achievements were met with quiet approval, Amy's every whim was treated as a revelation. A failed test was a phase, a minor accomplishment, a cause for celebration. I learned early on that the rules were different for us. She was special, I was reliable. 8 months ago, over a perfectly arranged family dinner, Amy made her announcement. I'm having a baby. The silence was immediate, brittle. When my father asked about the father, she shrugged. There isn't one. I used a donor. The initial shock my parents displayed melted away with astonishing speed, replaced by a giddy excitement, particularly from my mother. I was happy for her. Truly, I saw it as a chance for her to finally mature. It was around that time that Michael began to drift away. Late nights at the office became the norm, followed by weekend, business trips. His phone, once left casually on the coffee table, was now a guarded secret. When I asked if he was okay, he'd offer a tight smile. Just a big project. Don't worry. The call came on a Tuesday. Amy's son was born. My parents rushed to the hospital, but an emergency at work kept me away. The next day, another meeting blocked my path. I wouldn't meet my nephew for days. Then, the surreal news. My parents were sending Amy on a luxurious, 2-week solo trip to Hawaii for her postpartum recovery. The baby would stay with them. Stranger still, Michael announced his own 2-week trip to Seattle for final project meetings. A lonely disquiet settled over me. I visited my parents between shifts, eager to help with the baby, but was always met with gentle, yet firm, resistance. We want Amy to properly introduce you when she returns, my mother would say, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. The day Amy returned, I left work early, a carefully chosen gift in hand. Driving to my parents' house, the spring air should have felt refreshing, but a nervous energy thrummed beneath my skin. I was finally going to meet my nephew. I wished Michael were with me, but he'd texted that his Seattle meetings were running long. He wouldn't be back until late. Turning onto my parents' street, a familiar shape made me slam the brakes. A silver Lexus RC, Michael's car, the one that was supposed to be 3,000 miles away. I crept closer, my heart hammering against my ribs. There was no mistaking it, the license plate, the small Red Sox sticker on the mirror, his car. A whirlwind of confused thoughts. An emergency? A cancelled project? Why wouldn't he call? A cold dread began to coil in my stomach as I parked. The front door was slightly ajar. I moved to push it open, but my foot scuffed against something on the welcome mat. Brown Italian leather shoes, Michael's favorites, reserved for special occasions. From inside, laughter spilled out, Amy's crystalline laugh, and Michael's warm, familiar baritone. I froze, my hand hovering over the door. Our honeymoon was amazing, Amy was saying. That sunset cruise in Hawaii, I'll never forget it. Michael, your proposal was perfect. The words didn't make sense. They were sounds without meaning, crashing against a mind that refused to process them. Don't worry, she doesn't suspect a thing. Michael's voice was light, conspiratorial. Her eyes glaze over whenever I talk about architecture. Another laugh. This one my mother's. Were you really able to keep it a secret? she asked. Linda doesn't suspect anything? Your child is our real family. My father's voice, firm and final. Everything will work out from now on. It was better to wait. Amy chimed in. With the baby born, her attention is elsewhere. The timing is perfect. Marriage to Linda was a mistake, Michael said, and the conviction in his voice shattered what was left of my world. Amy, you and the baby are my real family. The gift bag slipped from my numb fingers. I didn't make a sound. I simply retreated, my legs moving on some primal instinct for survival, backing away from the threshold of my own life. The father of Amy's child was Michael, my husband. My parents knew. They were not just complicit, they were celebrants. I drove away, a strange, hollow silence filling the car. It wasn't until I had closed the door and locked myself in this metal coffin that the dam broke. A raw, guttural sob tore from my throat, then another, until I was screaming, pounding the steering wheel, my tears blurring the world outside. Why? When the storm of grief finally subsided, leaving me spent and trembling, a chilling calm descended. In the rearview mirror, my reflection was a mess of ruined makeup and swollen eyes, but deep within those red-rimmed eyes, a new, cold fire had been lit. The fog of betrayal had lifted, revealing a stark and brutal landscape, and I knew exactly what I had to do. I'll pretend not to know, I whispered to my broken reflection, and I will make them pay. Later, on my friend Jennifer's sofa, the numbness persisted. Jennifer was a vortex of righteous fury. You need to divorce him tomorrow. He's a monster. I need more evidence, I replied, my voice disturbingly even. This isn't just about divorce. Jenny, they didn't just lie to me. They built a life around me, using me as a prop. My parents, my voice cracked, but I steadied it. I want to dismantle their perfect little world, brick by brick. For that, I need a perfect plan. The next morning, I walked back into my home, my face a mask of casual remorse. Michael, I'm so sorry. I got drunk at Jenny's and my phone died. Relief washed over his features. I was worried. My Seattle trip ended early. Liar. I'm glad you're back, I said, smiling. You must be tired. Can I make you something to eat? His surprise was brief but telling. I never cooked. He recovered quickly. That would be great. I'll just take a shower. The moment the bathroom door shut, I moved. His suitcase showed meticulously staged wear. His phone, still unlocked with our wedding anniversary passcode, revealed nothing in his messages, but in his Google Photos, nestled among work screenshots, were pictures of Hawaiian sunsets. The dates matched his business trip. The next day, with Michael at work, I turned to his laptop. The password, another relic of our shared life, granted me access to the ruins of it. His primary email was clean, but a forgotten secondary account was a chronicle of my betrayal. The emails with Amy stretched back 2 years. They revealed a truth more poisonous than I could have imagined. Michael had been with Amy first. My father, wanting a stable, respectable match for his reliable daughter, had brokered our marriage, securing a major contract for Michael's firm in the process. The baby was no donor-conceived miracle. It was their planned heir, the signal for them to go public. I found the deleted message backups. I found ultrasound pictures. And then, on my parents' social media, I found the photo, a pregnancy announcement party I was never invited to. My family and friends, all smiles, with Michael in the center, wearing a shirt that proclaimed, a future dad. I was the only one missing from the picture. I had been erased from my own life. My final, desperate search led me to my parents' empty house. The key was still hidden in the old fake rock. My heart thundered in my ears as I slipped into my father's study. In a locked filing cabinet, behind financial records and insurance policies, I found the truth of my origin. I was adopted at 13, a child of distant relatives who died in an accident. The Parkers took me in, but it wasn't an act of pure charity. Paper clipped to the adoption decree was a note in my father's precise handwriting. It read, Linda is insurance to protect our family's reputation and legacy. I wasn't a daughter. I was a contingency plan, a respectable placeholder until the star of the family, their real daughter, was ready to claim the life they had always wanted for her. And now, I was no longer needed. My life was a portrait of quiet stability, painted in the muted tones of routine. For 8 years, my identity had been neatly defined by the starched white coat I wore as a pharmacist, the rhythmic verification of prescriptions, and the measured cadence of advising patients. This predictability was my anchor, a comfort I clung to. Then, I met Michael at a hospital charity gala. He was the architect designing our new wing, tall, intellectually captivating, and immaculate in a tailored suit. The attraction was instant and mutual. 5 years of marriage later, the simple warmth of his hand in mine could still feel like a promise. We had always treated children as a future abstraction, someday to be revisited once his career was fully established. I had agreed, but recently, a quiet, persistent ache had begun to bloom within me. Each time I passed the newborn nursery, the soft mewling cries seemed to call out to a hollow space inside me, a longing to cradle a tiny, dependent life. My family, the Parkers, were the very image of suburban success. My father, Edward, a retired pharmaceutical executive, stood as a pillar of judgment and composure, his conservative values and the family's reputation being his highest commandments. My mother, Carol, was his graceful counterpart, a retired English teacher whose life was now a curated tapestry of volunteer work and book clubs. Her smile was perpetually warm, yet I had long sensed the fierce obsession with perfection that hummed just beneath it. And then there was Amy, the undisputed star of our family constellation. She was radiant and effortlessly charismatic, her life a glittering stream of high-end real estate deals and glamorous social media posts. We were opposites in every way. I was the good girl, diligent and obedient, while Amy careened through a rebellious youth. Her every misstep somehow transformed into a charming anecdote. My achievements were met with expected, quiet approval. Amy's smallest victories were celebrated with fanfare. Even her troubles were dismissed with a fond, "She's just special." I told myself I understood, or at least, I had learned to accept the unequal distribution of their grace. 8 months ago, over a weekend dinner, Amy shattered the calm. "Everyone, I've decided to have a baby." The clinking of cutlery ceased. "Who's the father?" my father asked, his brow furrowed. Amy shrugged, a picture of nonchalance. "There isn't one. I've chosen to be a single mother. I used a donor." After a moment of stunned silence, my parents' resistance crumbled, replaced by a swift, bewildering enthusiasm. My mother, in particular, was instantly enthralled, her focus shifting to baby catalogs and nursery themes. I was happy for Amy, genuinely hoping this new responsibility might be the anchor she needed. It was around that time that Michael began to change. His presence at home dwindled, replaced by late nights and sudden weekend business trips. His smartphone became a permanent appendage, and he would flinch when I approached, quickly blanking the screen. His assurances, "Just a big project. Don't worry," felt flimsy, a poorly constructed wall I couldn't see past. The call came in May. "Linda, he's born. It's a boy." My parents rushed to the hospital in a whirlwind of delight, but a work emergency held me back. The following day, a critical meeting again postponed my visit. I wouldn't meet my nephew for days. Then came the surreal news. As a gift for giving birth, my parents were sending Amy on a luxurious, 2-week solo vacation to Hawaii. The newborn would stay with them. The coincidence was staggering when Michael announced his own 2-week trip for final meetings on an important project. "Seattle," he said. Feeling isolated but dutiful, I visited my parents between shifts to help with the baby, only to be met with a gentle, yet firm, barrier. "We want Amy to properly introduce you when she returns," my mother would insist, her smile a polite, impenetrable shield. The day Amy returned, I left work early, a carefully chosen gift in hand. Driving to my parents' house, the May breeze felt like a caress, and my heart fluttered with a nervous excitement. I was finally going to meet him. I longed for Michael to be there, but he'd texted that his Seattle meetings were extended. He wouldn't be home until late. Navigating the familiar, tree-lined streets of my parents' neighborhood, a flood of childhood memories washed over me. Then, as I turned the final corner, my breath hitched. Parked conspicuously along the curb was a silver Lexus RC, Michael's car. My mind scrambled for a rational explanation. An emergency? A cancelled project? If so, why wouldn't he call me? A knot of unease tightened in my stomach as I parked. I grabbed the gift bag and approached the house. noting with a strange detachment that the front door was slightly ajar. My gaze fell to the welcome mat, and there they were, Michael's distinctive brown Italian loafers, the ones he wore on special occasions. From within, I heard the easy cadence of laughter and conversation, Amy's melodic voice intertwined with Michael's. My hand, poised to push the door open, froze. An instinctual alarm screamed in my mind. I stood there, silent and invisible, and listened. Our honeymoon was amazing, Amy was saying, her voice dripping with contentment. That sunset cruise in Hawaii, I'll never forget it. Michael, your proposal was perfect. The words didn't just land, they detonated, shredding my reality. Don't worry, she doesn't suspect a thing. Michael's voice was light, almost boastful. Her eyes glaze over whenever I talk about architectural projects. I heard my mother's laugh, a tinkling, complicit sound. Were you really able to keep it a secret? She asked. Linda doesn't suspect anything? Your child is our real family, my father's voice declared, his tone leaving no room for doubt. Everything will work out from now on. It was better to wait a little longer, Amy chimed in. With the baby born, her attention won't be directed this way. The timing is perfect. Marriage to Linda was a mistake, Michael stated, and the cold conviction in his voice was the final, killing blow. Amy, you and the baby are my real family. A paralyzing cold seeped into my bones. My fingers tightened around the gift bag, my knuckles white. The father, Michael? How long? My parents, they weren't just aware. They were architects of this betrayal. On trembling legs, I retreated, moving with a ghost silence back to my car. It wasn't until the door was closed, sealing me in a soundproof vault, that the emotional dam shattered. A raw, guttural sob tore from my throat. I screamed. I pounded the steering wheel, my body racked with the violence of my grief. Why? The question was a silent scream into the void of my collapsed world. When the storm finally passed, leaving me hollow and spent, a terrifying calm descended. I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror, a stranger with red-rimmed eyes and ruined makeup. But in that stranger's gaze, a new, steely resolve had taken root. I'll pretend not to know, I whispered, my voice hoarse but steady. I will gather evidence, and I will make them regret this. The confusion was gone. In its place was a cold, clarifying fury, and the beginnings of a meticulous plan. They ruined my life. I vowed to my broken reflection, I will ruin theirs.